Now, I want to talk about AI a little bit because I don't feel comfortable with AI. Also, I don't think I'm that much qualified to talk about AI, as I think I only used AI for 5 or 6 times in my life, which is quite unique, I think, because I don't think there's, I mean, at least in my close circle, I don't think there's anyone else that used AI as little as I did, or have. But I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with it. And as you can see, it's not because of my experience or anything. I didn't have any experience with AI, but it's the premise of it, actually. And knowing that it's that inefficient at doing what it does, and it requires that much power and that much water and these data centers and all of that to just give me a paragraph of, I don't know, opinions seems quite, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me, you know? And I don't think it's going to stay this way. I'm sure that it's going to change because the way I feel about AI is quite similar, at least in my mind, to the reaction towards internet when it was first introduced to the masses and to the public. And in that time, maybe this is a sign of me getting old, but in that time as well, people were complaining and voicing their worries about internet making people lazy and this unsocial creatures, which it kind of did in a sense. But then we worked around it and found a way to use internet to our advantage. But the first couple of years were quite damaging as well, as we did not know what to do with this new technology. We had these situations and incidents that we did not know before, we did not experience before, and because of that, we did not know how to handle those. I think we're in a very similar situation with AI, and even more pressing, because so the thing is, the way that we use AI, I think, is because of billionaires. And I made a couple of videos about capitalism before. They are on my channel, but I think this year actually has changed my mind about capitalism and the liberalism. Actually, I was not this opinionated or strict about capitalism, but now that we are experiencing these things with new technologies and new advancements, I don't think they're advancements, but these new advancements, some of the things that happen because of capitalism are quite worrying. And I'm quite worried that we turned into these consumption machines, basically, that the billionaires make lots of money off. I don't. One thing about capitalism that I didn't change my mind about is the way that it lets the public move around the social classes. I think it is still quite a good way to let people's innovations and creativities flow throughout the public. But the way that we are doing it now is quite damaging, and that is the problem. In that way, the problem is really the billionaires, and capitalism is, yes, fueling that, but also the things that are fueling it are more like the governmental policies rather than the capitalism itself. I still think the premise of capitalism still holds truth, but the other parts, the way that the capitalism is handled, is quite worrying. We had a conversation with one of my colleagues the other day, and it was about, he said that in the future, employers are going to request people to know how to use AI. And I was like, no, it's not going to happen, at least with the current AI. And he was like, what are you talking about? Because my opinion is that the current AI models don't really need you to learn it. They just go with you. And the way that they work doesn't really improve anyone's efficiencies. In some instances, I understand that it does improve efficiency. You can write huge bodies of writings in a second or in a minute at least. But you still have to go through it. You still have to edit it. Yes, it is good at doing mass production of knowledge, which is the industrial revolution of our ages, but it's still not good at that. It's still rambling and fumbling along, and we needed to improve a little more to trust it more. And in that way, I don't think it's going to work the same way in the future. I think the way that it works will change. So the AI that we are using now will not have any effects of that on our productivities, because it's going to be useless in the future, if that makes sense. And I said this, and he was like, well, but there are some AI music that I like. And I was like, okay, I have a problem with this sentence. Because the problem with AI art is that, yes, he said that it's good art, and I was like, what is good art? Because what is good art? Art is not supposed to be good or beautiful, or, well, aestheticism is quite a different topic, but it's not supposed to be this evaluated body of work. It's supposed to connect people. And if you do that through AI, via AI, then we are connecting with a robot. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but his example about music really struck a nerve in me, because the current music industry is really based on marketing. If you have good marketing, if you have a good branding, then people will know about you. People will listen to your music. Because in a way, that's how human psyche works, human behavior works, or at least in these ages. But that's what's happening. If you package a thing in a good way, you package it well, the inside doesn't really matter at the moment. Which I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just what it is. And if someone using AI to make music instead of making their own music, because making music requires a lot of time and effort, at the end, that person that used AI can use that effort and capacities towards marketing, to market their music more, then which is going to lead to it being seen more and it being more visible, and it replacing the actual authentic music that were made by people who are mainly struggling musicians that are trying to get their work to the masses. And that seems unfair. I don't know. The way that societal structure changes, it's not even working. It's changing like every year or every 6 months now, and we are not able to keep up with that. It's very hard to understand and very hard to comprehend the way that the society works. But you can have some understandings, you can have some grasp about some of the basic things, and it can lead you very far, I think, in my opinion. The example about music, you can understand a little about branding, a little about music, and as humans, our expression is repetitive and unique to ourselves anyways. So you can use that way of thinking on your music, and the way you put it out there, publish your music, and then you will have a little more success. I know it's not that simple. I know the industry is quite brutal, but there are some of these tricks that are not very straightforward and intuitive, but are very helpful if you understand them. And the things that we are focusing on right now are not those things. We're not thinking about how to better our lives, how to connect with each other in better ways, how to, improve this human experience, life experience on Earth. Instead, we are improving AIs and we are debating about them. And I think I don't know, that really doesn't sit right with me. And the fact that we have to use this much energy and also to just have some copies of writing is unfathomably irresponsible to me, because instead of doing that, which is not, I know that is not good for me, I can just go out there, find some books, find some people, talk with them. Because with social media and the internet, we can find each other easier. But instead of doing that, we are using AI to connect with each other. And yes, that requires effort to connect with people at the moment. But the human experience is that we put effort into things and then it leads us to better things. I don't know. I sound like a boomer that's complaining about people getting lazier, but I kind of do think that. I don't know. Am I alone? Because in my day-to-day life as well, I find it quite hard to connect with people sometimes because they don't have the patience to listen to me sometimes. And I don't know, it's getting weird. Maybe there is another silver lining here that is a sign of human psychology that we need to see. But I think we know about human psychology to understand what's going on. I think we have been turned into these consumption machines, as I mentioned, that just don't do analytical thinking, don't do deep thinking. We have deep thinking machines. We're not doing that ourselves anymore, which is quite weird. And the argument about AI replacing these easy jobs so that we can do deep thinking, we're not doing that either. We're using machines to do that instead of ourselves. So that argument doesn't hold truth in my opinion. And we're just turning into these very hungry, very consumption-based beings that are being used by the very rich. And in my previous video, I mentioned that I've been reading quite a lot of philosophy, and the writers that I have been reading recently, especially from the 19th century, and their writings and their ways of thinking are quite... They have got my attention because they are very deep. I struggle to understand them, but in a way it's also weird that I struggle to understand them. I have quite a high education. I'm still in my education. I'm still working on my thesis and all that things. I am doing literature work as well, but it's hard for me to understand. Yes, it requires for me to put the effort that I mentioned, but in those times, they were imagining that we would be able to understand those thoughts and those concepts way more easier, and we would work on other things. But the current way of living, current way of society is quite the opposite. We have moved way far away from that reality, where they had these very long debates, 3 hours, I think. I heard that in one video. I didn't check the references. I'm not sure if it's correct, but I can tell from some of the things that I remember from my childhood and some of the things that my seniors had told me. People used to have more thinking capabilities, but we don't have that anymore. Yes, social media has a role on that. Yes, the current way of technology has a role on that, but we can do things about that as well. As a healthcare professional and as a doctor, I think I have the right to say that we can change things, because I do that every day in my work. I tell people to change things about themselves sometimes in a non-judgmental way. I'm doing it in a non-judgmental way. Again, this is not this video per se, but I think this human experience in this age is getting quite ridiculous, and I think we need to do something about that, really. I don't think AI is going to destroy us, because internet didn't, and we found a way to work with that. But we still have some scars from the internet, especially from the social media. But anyways, We're okay with the rest of the internet now. The social media part is quite the problem at the moment. I think we're going to have a similar development phase with AI, and I think we need to be careful and we need to be a little more open-minded about AI and how it can change and how it can really help us. And we need to also be very open-minded about its effects on us right now, because I don't think it has a good effect on us. And some of the things that people are saying to me about AI, my friends know that I don't use AI, and the way that they advocate AI to me sounds more like this propaganda that they have heard from somewhere else, and they're just repeating it to me, and I'm like, is this a dystopian thriller? Because it does feel like that. And yeah, I think we need to be a little more critical and a little bit more thinking, and we can put those together and we can think critically as well. Yeah, I'm worried about AI. I don't think my worry is going to come true, but I think we still need to be careful about it. So yeah, I would like to know what you think about it. Like, what's your take? How it's affecting you in your day-to-day life is what I'd like to know. Because also in my day-to-day life, actually, the last year has been about me focusing on really connecting with other people, and I have really seen quite a lot of benefits of it on my mental health, on my personal life. I have been trying to read more. I have been trying to like ask questions to people rather than like I don't know, googling it. Or I don't ask AI. If I have to be really fast, then I use AI. But like the other ways that I don't use AI is that I try to do my own writing. I try to like set apart these blocks of time so that I can work on my writing and my expression. I know my expression on my YouTube channel is not that good, but I'm working on it, and I like have these exercises about my mental health, about my cognitive and intellectual abilities as well, so that I don't use AI. Because in my opinion, using AI also, well, if I need to be so fast, then I use AI. But in other instances, I think it just slows me down, because then I have to edit what it says, and then think and fact check what it said. But if I know that, if I learned it somehow, or if I have the capacity and the capability of writing my own things, then I don't need it. Then I can just do it and read it one more and I'm done. I have my own like way of working then. I think the current instances that we use AI are not really good for AI. So yeah, this has been my ramble for today. If you have, thanks for listening to me. You can like and subscribe and comment down below. Please comment down below. Actually, I want to know about your thoughts about AI. And until next time, I hope I see you again. And until next time, please take care of yourselves. Bye.